Ms. Wilkes, if you could please call the roll.
Sure. Mayor Pro Tem Cordova,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Ms. Parker,
Here.
Mr. Elkins,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Mr. South,
Here.
Mr. Merritt,
Here.
and Mr. Rockler.
Here.
Thank you. The only one absent is Mayor Miller, so we do have a quorum.
Thank you. If you will please join me with Mr. Mayor, giving the invocation, and I'll lead us in our pledges.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, thanking you so much for all that you do for us. We thank you for the rain that you've sent our way. Moisture helps to replenish the ground and get crops growing and clean the air, and we just appreciate that. Lord, we ask that you'd be with us each and every one tonight as we take on the business of the city and help us to do what is right in your eyes and what is right for the community. Lord, we just ask for wisdom in these decisions that we make. We thank you especially for the gift of your son, his willingness to be our savior. It's through his name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you and welcome everybody to our meeting. We appreciate everybody who took their time to make your way over. Next item will be public comment. The public has the opportunity to provide comment on subjects regarding to city business during the public comment period. Speakers' comments are limited to 3 minutes unless the mayor or council requests for more information. The time limit is given in an effort to allow the public input, but also to move the agenda forward in a prompt yet effective manner. All speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting. Topics are limited to 6 speakers per topic. Did everybody have a chance that wanted to sign in? We have one on the list, Mr. Davison. He is going to talk on the topic of finance.
Name is Mike Davidson. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. In recent months, I've spoken to 3 different city officials who have told me independently that our city staff is down by nearly 100 people compared to a year or 2 ago. At a median annual salary of $30,000, not counting matching taxes and benefits, this is roughly $3 million per year that we did not spend on wages. I don't think we were planning on losing those people. So those funds should have been budgeted. 2 years of that trend is over $6 million. 3 years, $9 million. I think these are conservative numbers, which brings the question, where is that money? City workers don't generate revenue. They provide essential services. A shortage of employees did not create a shortage of revenue. What it created was an increased workload on the remaining employees, forcing them to cover multiple roles and do multiple jobs. I saw the past advertisements for city manager and finance director, thankfully filled by great people. I've seen the ads for public works director, attorney, police and fire personnel, as well as dispatch, street labor, patch bus drivers, part-time animal patrol, but nowhere near 100 positions have been advertised. This unspent budget could have raised wages for our fire and EMT personnel that were making $15 an hour, or provided Mr. Chavez with the support he needed to manage the parks, cemetery, and streets, instead of being understaffed and under constant public pressure. A few days ago, EPCOR shared a troubling assessment of our well fields, infrastructure, and wastewater systems. I suspect they were being tactful, sparing us the full extent of how severe our situation is. The frustration of our current circumstances can't be ignored. Particularly troubling is the condition of our nearly new wastewater treatment plant, which is already in despair or disrepair rather, after only 7 of its 20 scheduled payments have been made. Residents began paying or pre-funding this project in 2007 with construction starting in 2017. It was theoretically completed in 2019 with a target of full operation by mid-2020. Yet after 17 years of payments from residents, the plant has struggled to function properly, with some parts never working correctly at all. Now, the 6-year-old facility is deteriorating for lack of maintenance. Meanwhile, our city is advertising a water labor position at $13.48 an hour. I don't get that. If we have saved $6 to $9 million in the last 2 or 3 years from staff reduction, seems like we should use that money to support our workforces or explain to the public where that money went. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson.
Mayor Pro Tem, can I ask a question on that? It says on that little public comment that we have the ability to ask. And it may not be for you, Mr. Davidson, it may be for Mr. Moyer, for Ms. Jenna. Do we know, are we down 100 employees? Is that a number that we know, or is that, where is that? That's the first I've heard of that. I know we are down, but I didn't know.
We are over. I'll find out the exact number.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you, man.
One more thing to piggyback on that is it just the turnover rate of maybe a position and then the turnover rate, just to look at that as well too, if you guys don't mind. Thank you. Okay, next item, minutes of the previous meeting. The regular meeting was held on October 22nd, 2024. Minutes are in your packet for your review. We have any questions or comments on the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Ms. Parker. We will have to do a roll call vote because we have Mr. Rackler on the line. So Ms. Swopes, if you will please call the roll.
You're exercising your right to vote.
Correct?
So Veronica,
Yes.
and Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. South,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Rattler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Madam Pro Tem, may I make a comment? I like to, I know, the editorial of the minutes, is very impressive. If you read through it, it reads it's whoever came up with this documentation, I'm impressed with it. It's something that should be put in archives and people in the future would have something well to read. Whoever who's responsible for this, Chris, pat him on the back. Very good, very good
The
work.
Swopes.
Our next item is a presentation for a 10 years of service. Deal. City Palace presents this certificate of appreciation to Melissa Cadillo in recognition of 10 years of your faithful service, outstanding performance, and commitment to the excellence of the city of Palace. Dated November 24th, 2014 was her start date. And we appreciate all that you do. I know that Ms. Cadillo did have a hard week this week, and we have you and your family in thoughts, in our thoughts and prayers. But here's your certificate and your pin, and if you would like to say any words, you're more than welcome. Melissa's very soft spoken and rarely likes to speak. So we appreciate all your service, Melissa. Thank you. Next item is Mr. Mendoza. He is gonna give us the water update.
Council, so I wanted to provide a quick water update, regarding oil field production, tank levels. And then, inflow of GPMs. So currently we are resting about 32% of our Blackwater well field. That's out of 37 wells in Blackwater. And then that's 42% resting, for the entire well field. That includes, Sand Hill. We're pumping roughly around 2.5 million gallons a day. And then on average, October 22nd to November 12th, we're at about 1,600 gallons per minute, coming into Johnson Hill. Tank level average is 27 feet at Johnson Hill. And we today, as of 4/12, when I checked it, we're about 1,686 gallons per minute coming in. We're at 28.5 feet at the tanks. As far as what we're doing in the system, we're doing system maintenance, replacement, customer service, infrastructure upgrades, data management, and staff training. Tomorrow we've got a work order implementation meeting to get some of the work order stuff out in the field kind of squared away. And then I stand for any questions.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Mendoza?
I've got a couple. So we're 42% resting total well field. But our tanks are not rising. Is that because they've kind of been hanging out below the 30-foot line for, 3 or 4 weeks? They're rising today, you said, but what's been causing them to not go back to the full mark? So we had, during that storm, we had a few wells go down. So we're kind of playing catch up right now, but it was nothing. So is that something that we'll go kick more wells on to refill that tank, or do we just let it refill up as it needs on that? Just depending on the demand system, we just kind of play it off the day. Like this rain's kind of helped us out a lot, with the demand stuff. We've utilized that, and then Eric has a pretty good cycle. Ron goes up there and he'll cycle on and off if we need to. Is that about par for this time of year that we're resting 40%, or do we know what an average? It's pretty close to this, and then we'll utilize this to go in and service some of our wells. When demand's down, you can go. Yeah, so we'll go pick some wells that haven't been serviced in a while. As far as service, that's a full clean. They'll pull the pump, they'll bell it, they'll brush it, they'll acidize it, and then they'll check the motor. And that we're contracting that out, is that right? Thank you.
Are the wells back up and going that went down? Nothing serious, just
Nothing serious. 27, Eric?
Yes.
27's down. We're still waiting back to hear from electrician on that one.
Any further questions? I would like to thank Chris and Eric. I did have a tour out at the wastewater treatment plant on the 25th, and they were very professional, and I got to see again how the wastewater treatment plant works and does. So looking forward to seeing what we can do there too. So I'll catch up with you for the update.
Good.
Thanks, Chris. And Eric.
I commend you for going out.
Oh.
That's not the most choice place to go visit. So.
No, it's not. Okay, next item is item 2, presentation of FY 2025 Q1 is submitted to DFA. Quarterly report along with the revenue report for Ms. Rivera, Finance Director.
Christine is going to load the recap report for me. It's included in your budget, but we'll also load it on the screen for reference. So what is it? What should be the next recap? Okay, so you have before you the first quarter report as submitted to DFA on October 31st. Review that report that is due. This quarterly report, I know I've explained it probably before, but this captures the balances and year-to-date activities through September 30th. As you can see from the report, all balances in that balance column are positive. And as we continue through the year, you'll start to see the lower balances in that column. With 25% expended through the year as of September 30th, most budgets are at that mark or slightly higher due to pending encumbered amounts for our fiscal year. All budgets are performing well as we have been working closely with our department heads to ensure we remain within our budget. Monthly budget reports are sent out to our department heads so they can review the expenditures and corresponding remaining budget, and also give them the opportunity to seek further details for any questions they may have and determine if budget adjustments are necessary. And if I haven't said it before, a huge thank you to the department heads for their support as we continue to overcome many challenges. And then also included in your packet is a requested revenue report. The summary report that I shared captures the year-to-date activities for the revenues received for each fund. I've also included the quarterly report summary that you can refer to. It has more information about the revenues and more of the detail for the revenue received in the reporting period. And Ms. Christine has shared it. For example, you can see charges and what is in those funds specifically. Stand for any questions.
Thank you. I noticed that this time and I really appreciate that. It helped.
So my plan is to continue reporting on the revenues quarterly when we submit these quarterly reports also to the state. So it goes together with what's reported to the state.
Can I just ask, and I think I know the answer to it, but on the Water Enterprise Fund, we've got cash of $3.5 million sitting in the bank. And then we've got 7.1 million in investments. Is that total invested plant or is that cash invested?
7 million is total investment. That's just the investments. That's not the cash in bank.
Okay, but I'm not asking, is it total utility plant invested or is that like cash that's invested into the market? Okay, so we've got $10 million in cash. It just may not be liquid cash. Okay.
Any further questions?
On the last page, where you give fund numbers and description of them, there is a 550, which is water conservation, 925,000. What is that? It's on the very last page.
Page 28.
So that will consist of revenues that we collect, our water conservation fees that are collected. Any transfers in, and then any income unrealized or gain on in investments. And then we also transfer in to this fund to the 550 from 506 and 551. So that we utilize that fund to pay for the annual contribution that is paid to
Your water.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I thought that might be the case, but I just wanted to confirm.
Which number?
Yes.
27? Yeah, go ahead.
I just a point of explanation. Could you explain 270 and 280? What does that relate to and how does that impact the city?
Well, Fund 270 is the LGB Abatement Opioid Fund. And those are federal funds we received based on settlements. And that that'll show what's activity we have. That's only revenues at this time we haven't expended as we have allocated those funds for the behavioral health.
So is that fund given to a certain department?
No, those are very restricted funds. And it is allocated to the behavioral health, which we haven't expended, but that's what those funds will be allocated for.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then Fund 280, you asked?
Yes,
also?
280, it's, I guess it's similar as cannabis, so it's similar to 270.
Yeah, so well, 280 is from the revenues collected from the Cannabis Regulation Act. And those funds aren't right now going to a specific department. From my understanding, might have been earmarked for different expenditures, but we still need to determine what expenditures those will be for and what we can utilize them for.
Okay, did we earmark for the council, the previous council earmarked 50% of that for the street improvements?
The street improvement, I don't.
No, that was a property tax.
Oh.
Increase in sale.
That's right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, we will move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lily. Next item is a city update from Mr. Moyer.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, just want to provide an update on some of the things that we have going on within the city. As you guys know that we received that $1.65 million grant for road repairs. And so while we wait for the weather to warm up, we're assessing streets to maximize the impact of these funds by using different methods of repair. And we'll provide an update once our plan is finalized. And we had a public infrastructure update on some of the things done in October. We did 7 alley cleanups, repairs, placing 6 stop signs, filling potholes, cleared the globe ditch from 18th to Road 7. Sanitation department made 62 trips to close for trash disposal. Additional tasks were maintaining vehicles, shredding cover ditch, and other city infrastructure duties. For those that missed the public works meeting, we're actively developing a new water strategy to address issues from F4 assessment, prioritizing safety, immediate measures, including adding signs, safety stickers, and locks, and obtaining quotes for electrical work and fencing. In addition, we're compiling a detailed list of issues, identifying those we can handle internally, such as installing concrete pads and stanchions. And to ensure ongoing improvements, we're creating a comprehensive maintenance plan with monthly, quarterly, and annual tasks. We've implemented a new work order system to track repair costs, parts, and hours across water and streets. Adding also code enforcement and animal control, streamlining issue resolution, and providing clear records. We got field use iPads that will give our team real-time information access, improving responsiveness and oversight for smooth and well-documented operations. And I'd like to highlight a growing issue. First, I'd like to say that we work hard to provide timely responses to all the requests, but these have required significant staff time across all departments. With 61 hours spent in the month of October and 119 hours spent in just the first 12 days of this month alone, we are now tracking the costs. And barring a decline in these requests, we may need to reallocate resources and create a dedicated role for these requests, which could temporarily impact hiring in other departments due to funding shifts. And while we recognize that public service invites scrutiny, we are committed to fostering a respectful, positive environment in our community and online. Increasingly direct and often unfounded criticism and cyberbullying on social media are affecting morale and may be discouraging candidates for senior roles within the city. This negatively impacts not only individual employees, but the spirit of our entire team who work hard to serve the community. We are dedicated to addressing these issues by promoting a culture of respect and appreciation that values our team's commitment and attracts dedicated professionals. And with your leadership, we can create an environment where our staff feel valued, respected, and motivated to continue the essential work they do. And we'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you for those comments. I did want to say that, for the city, the most valuable part of what we do and how we get it done is our employees. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to each and every employee of that we have here at the city that are doing their job day in and day out to the best of their abilities. So thank you for those words and for bringing that to our attention. Anybody else?
I have to say something.
Go ahead, Mr. Robinson.
Chris, I hear you loud and clear on what you just stated in those comments. I'm sorry, I'm a little kind of under the weather, but as long as I've been on the city council, I've always respected the output of the employees. And the employees of the city is by reproach with what they work with is above reproach. They are outstanding people, and we need to start recognizing that. And as of tonight, I would probably have a search saying, thank our employees. And so I will go down and have me a jersey made tomorrow, and I'll be walking around town and say, thank city employees. That's how I feel about them.
Thank you. Mr. Merrick?
I know what you're facing on the IPRA request. Unfortunately, so is every municipality in the state. And we went to a municipal league meeting, and the city of Albuquerque has 26 employees that do nothing more than fill IPRA requests. And I understand that the public has the right to know and to request this information, but just trying to find some little T that wasn't crossed somewhere so that they can bring it out on social media and try to demean the employees and the staff of the city is wrong. Yeah, you know, there's a time and a place for every request and for the information, but just to bombard you with nonsense is ridiculous. And I think it needs to stop.
And I mean, I understand that we don't have a dedicated person in City Hall for some of the requests that we get. So that is why we're just, with the amount of requests that we've been getting, it caught my attention lately, which is why I wanted to start tracking how much time we spend and how many man hours and what cost that comes to in the city, based off of the fact that they can't be doing their primary job well.
And I'm not saying that a legitimate request doesn't need to be followed through. It's just the ones that are doing it they have ulterior motives.
So we respond to all requests.
Yeah.
Can I ask how many IPRA requests you received this last month in October, or whatever month you're looking at?
Know that for a fact. I know that just last week, we had 10 open. We're down to 3. But some of the requests that we have gotten have come at significant resource costs of the amount of time that we have to go through audio, go through logs, go through just those types of things, going through and redacting. So there is a request right now. It's a public request, so I'll just say it, 7 years of third-party invoices in the city. So that's over 5,000 invoices that we're going through, and we have to make sure we redact card numbers, account numbers. So that has taken up a significant amount of time.
And you still meeting the deadline, like 15 days, your response time?
This one we did not, but we have communicated with the individual, so we're within the guidelines.
Okay.
You've also had some issues with people requesting this through not normal paths of.
So they're allowed to request through any means. We like them to go through our portal. That way it's way easier for us to track. We can go through it on a daily basis and see that what the due date is, when it was put in, what responses have been made to it. But we have to respond to any written, audio, email requests.
I'd like to make a comment. I echo what everyone else is saying on the council. And I'm not sure who said it, but our biggest asset has always been our city employees. And our city employees have been top notch. And especially currently with receiving everything that they're receiving, we're feeling it too. And my comment to everyone is, don't knock it until you try it. And I think the new council is starting to realize that it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna make a change, and this is what I'm gonna do, and boom, it's gonna be done. It's really, really hard work. We all live in this community together, and as a community, we need to work together. And when we start tearing down others that are working in the community, it's not helping. And so we need to, as a council, step it up, and kind of like what Councilor Robinson was saying, is that we need to defend our employees. Our employees are the best because of what they're putting up with. And we all live in the same, we all shop at the same place. We all go to the same schools. We do everything together. We're not any different from anybody else. And so we need to remember that. If we drive down the street and there's trash, we need to stop and pick it up. We need to help those that need help. And yes, we talked about this. We're down right now, employees, but the ones that are still here, we commend you because you are still here and you're putting up with all of this. And we thank you. And we try to do little things, of trying to tell you how much we appreciate you. And we will fight for you as employees of the city because you guys are top notch and we appreciate it so much. As far as the council goes, I appreciate everybody that's on the council. We've been through so many different councils and so many different mayors and administrations in the time that I've been here. But I mean, we're our worst enemy. Literally, the people in this community, we're our worst enemy. It's not the people down the road or coming through town. It's us. So we need to stop it. And yes, I totally agree with what Oscar is saying, is that we need to start defending more so our employees because we thank you. And you're doing the best that you can do with what we have. And so we appreciate you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Anybody else?
One question. I don't know that I heard it in your list of updates. Did I see a tractor going down the ditch off of 18th, cleaning out the trees and the elm trees?
Not all the, they were trimming them and then they dug it out, yes, right before that last weekend.
Well, good job. Because who knows what 18th would have looked like without doing that. So I appreciate y'all getting that done.
So do the residents over there.
Mhm.
I got a few calls thanking them. So I'll pass them on.
So
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Moore. Okay, now we will move on to action items. Our first item is with the city clerk, Ms. Swopes. Item 1 is a public hearing for approval of application for the Doghouse Packet, or the Doghouse Pack LLC, DBA The Doghouse at 1013 West 2nd Street for a transfer of ownership and change of location of dispenser liquor license number DIS 0000751 with on-site consumption only with patio service. So item A is action to enter into a public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Self. Melissa, will you call the roll for Ms. Swopes?
I'll do it.
Chris. Yes, go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing. Ms. Swopes, if you'd like to present.
A lot of people are familiar with the doghouse. They are attempting, and I think, and perhaps Mr. Chad Heflin or Miss Kylie Stoker, who is the contact person I've been working with on this particular liquor license. They might be able to describe this and their plan of action better, but there is a cantina beside the doghouse. And so I believe that they're needing to get the patio service and getting the transfer of ownership for this particular liquor license in place so that they can continue the business as they are doing right now and planning on continuing. So the doghouse has been in operation for a number of years, and I think quite successfully. And I think what they're asking for is reasonable. And I know that somebody is attending by Zoom, but I'm not sure if it's someone that would like to speak up. But if Mr. Heflin or Ms. Stoker is available and would like to speak up, I'm requesting that you please speak up and help yourself out with this matter.
Okay, do we have anybody in the public that wants to speak for the request? Do we have any in the public that wants to speak against the request? Okay, with that, we need action to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Parker and a second by Mr. Self. Mr. Moyer?
Mayor Pro Tem Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, we have now closed the public hearing. Now item C is action by council on the application for the transfer of ownership and change of location of the dispenser liquor license for the doghouse. Do we have any comments? Okay,
I have a question, and I don't know who's gonna answer it because we don't have legal counsel here. And nobody from the establishment, the business. My question is this license necessary for them to operate the cantina portion when they already have a liquor license for the doghouse?
Say yes. And I'm not saying that just to play it safe. And I don't understand a great deal about liquor licenses. However, I think because of the particular nature of this particular business. And it was one thing, and then because they've added the cantina to it, it has changed it a bit, and so it needed to fulfill this change of liquor license to acquire something that would allow them to have on-site consumption only and on the patio. I think it changed the business, the nature of the business just enough that they're needing to enlarge, if you will, the scope of what they're doing and the audience and the people, the patronage and the customers they're trying to serve.
so my question is, will this be a second license that they own, or is one for the cantina and one for the?
I think they've got the doghouse established, and I think the cantina is perhaps the secondary place that they're serving, and they're needing to fulfill that requirement.
Well,
And this transfer,
it appears that there's an approve of transfer of ownership. So are they not just changing owners? And so this is why there's a new license being created?
yes.
I think that's the main purpose of it.
Yes.
Okay. If I may, Mayor.
So they're purchasing from, yes, so they're purchasing from that. Lipid Levy Mart LLC
Yes,
to have a second license then,
Yes.
That's, I think, what's happening.
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Mr. So,
I saw Chad at the store today and he indicated, if I understood correctly, that they're selling the package license to another entity. And that this was a requirement to operate because they're selling one, but they don't want to sell the package. They want to be able to operate the cantina. And this is part of the,
so are they closing the package store?
that if I heard him correctly, yes. They're selling that to another
So
entity. Go ahead.
what is the difference between package license and a full dispenser?
Package license allows like your convenience stores. That's what they have. Pardon?
On-site consumption.
Yes. there is, you know, the package stores.
Everything.
Well, for your, like, if you look at your liquor licenses, because I'm not 100% speed on what the requirements are or anything, but as far as most of it, like, your package is no on-site consumption. And then you have your liquor licenses that are, some of them are limited to beer and wine. And then you have your other ones that allow you to serve the liquor as well. And I think that's your full dispensaries with liquor. To my knowledge.
Everything that we've had up to this point, since I've been on council, has just been a name change, changing from one to the other. This one is completely different to me. And it's why I brought up a question is, if this license is necessary, then how are they operating the cantina part now? And if it's because they needed to change the type of license to do both, then how are they operating the cantina?
So I think what's happening is they have the cantina and the doghouse upstairs. That's one consumption on premises. And then they have the packaging license. I think they're selling the packaging license, keeping the cantina. So that's the transfer of ownership. So they're still good now because they're fully operating both. At least that was my understanding of it.
So that liquor license has for consumption and for package distribution.
And they may own two different licenses and they're selling the one for packaging. So that's the sale of ownership.
Yeah.
But
Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Rackler, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just really concerned that we're sitting here guessing about what's going on and trying to make a decision about something that we don't have somebody there explaining to us what they're doing. I don't like making a decision that we're not sure exactly what's going on. I would rather postpone it to a meeting where somebody can come and explain it.
well,
The only hesitation I have in that is that the NMRLD, the New Mexico Regulatory and Licensing Board, is incredibly dependent and highly scheduled. And it could affect negatively so any plans that Mr. Heflin has in his establishment and continuing it to move forward and in the time frame allowed to him by the NMRLD.
well,
I have to work like heck, begging your pardon, to just get the hearing scheduled in a decent time that the NMRLD and makes them happy. If I'm not on top of it in the scheduling for the public hearings, then I make them very unhappy and they let me know how unhappy they are.
Did, may I ask a question?
Yes.
When Mr. Heflin or the other person asked to be here tonight,
The individual who is on the paperwork as his primary contact person, her name is, I believe, Kylie Stoker. And I got an email from her just this morning. I let her know about the Zoom and let her have the Zoom opportunity to attend. And she thanked me for the information, and it seemed like she had told me last week that she planned on attending by Zoom. She thought Mr. Heflin would attend in person since this is his hometown. So.
taking that, taking that attitude, I mean, I understand there was some statements made that the doghouse and the cantina are upstairs. Well, that's not true. And the doghouse is upstairs
Yes.
and the cantina is downstairs.
Yes.
That need to be corrected. Well, I hate to say this, but I am. I'm a constant patron to the cantina. And I understand I understand what the venue is, really something simple. And I don't think it's as complex as we're trying to make it. All I think what he's saying is they want to make sure that they within the law, ABC rules by offering beverages downstairs as well as upstairs
Yes.
simultaneously.
Yes.
That's what he's trying to do. So I don't see no hesitation to vote on this tonight.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I've still got another question because I'm in researching this, and I just want to make sure that we're doing everything the way we need to be doing it instead of just passing it on. And I understand your time constraints and trying to have everything scheduled, but I was pulling up the regulations on it, and for some reason, I kept thinking in my mind that the city of Portales was issued a certain number of full licensures, and there couldn't be any more than that brought in. Okay, so this kind of made me question it, and so I went to and pulled up the regulations, and this is why I kind of wanted legal counsel here, because it says in here, section inapplicable to transfer of existing license. A liquor dispenser's license may not be transferred from one municipality to another, even though limitations as to the number of licenses per populations apply only to the issuance of new licenses and not to the transfer of existing license. A transfer from one municipality to another would be without restriction in this regard, but would result in thwarting the legislative intent of limiting the number of licenses that can be issued to any one municipality.
And
So
you're questioning this because it comes
I'm
from Dexter.
questioning because it's a state opinion. And so it's saying that you can't transfer from one municipality, which this is coming from Dexter, to here. And if we can, I'm not opposed to it. But if we can't, then we don't need to be passing something and then find out later that we can't do it. So I'm kind of with Mike until we can get clarity on this, and maybe someone from the doghouse to come and represent themselves.
I will say,
I would like to table it.
yeah, reading through this, the NMLRLD has given preliminary approval, so this is the requirement for us, and then it goes back to them on whether we approved it or not.
Well, and that's my question and comment, is that Mr. Heflin is not starting with this, the Portales City Council. He's already gone through, and I'm looking at this certified letter that's coming from NMRLD, which is through the state of New Mexico, where you publish the hearing date. It was published October 6th, October 13th. He paid something on certain dates. So there's lots of different dates. There's lots of different applications. He's gone through lots of different steps at this point. We're one of the steps. So I'm thinking that if they were doing something that they were not supposed to be doing, it would have been stopped prior to getting to us. So we're just in the equation. We're not at the point where, okay.
We want to, I've been told that he'll answer a phone call and swear in if we want him to.
Can he get a Zoom link to him?
Yes, there's a no.
So with the transfer, so the state with this certified letter is saying that it is already approved. So if we're gonna allow for Mr. Heflin to give an email address to see if he can jump on real quick.
And if he could call in, would that not work, Christine? And have one of our mics, just have him on one of our phones? Would that work? I don't want to postpone his liquor license just because we don't know the answers.
Whether we approve it or not, it's still going to happen anyway.
So I have one more question, just to be clear. On the special use permits in that area with the subdivisions, are we okay with just transferring that over to the new one? We won't have to create a new special use permit, correct? Is that right, Kelly? Sorry,
Sorry, I was doing an animal control question.
that's okay. So the subdivision, for the special use permit, we're still gonna be compliant with, the new license, not the second.
So we already sent them included into the alcohol beverage control division, we already sent their zoning statement. And in
Okay.
the zoning statement, we did say, it does require a special use permit. If it does not fall under the current use permit. So if they are changing ownership, they will need a new one. And we did send that.
So that'll just come back at a later time.
No. Yes, that will be needed before they can afford.
Okay. There he is.
Chad, can you unmute?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. What's going on? What can I help you with?
Well, can we ask what are you doing? What is the liquor license change of ownership? Is the location an issue? Why did this come before us tonight? I guess is our question.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen. We're going to sell our dispenser's license to Allsups, which lets us, right now, we can do package and on premise, which is the bar and package store. So right now, all we're doing is we're selling the package portion of that license to Allsups. In return, we're going to get a license from Roswell to keep our bar open. So that's all. No location will change. Nothing will change. The only difference will be we just won't have package store anymore.
And Mr. Heflin, that has already been approved by the state, correct? The transfer of the Roswell liquor license to your establishment?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So you'll still just have one license?
Yes, but it will be one license, but we just will not have package store.
Okay.
And then
No
the
location will change. No
one you're
location will
selling
change.
is staying in Portales, or is it being transferred somewhere else?
I have no clue where once the sale goes through, this license has to stay in Portales, the one I have right now. So I'm sure it'll stay here in Portales somewhere.
Any other questions? Okay, with a clarification, what is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lopez and a second by Mr. Robinson. Mr. Moyer, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
No.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you for joining, Mr. Heflin.
Thank-
Okay, next action item is the fire department. Item 1 is a request for the approval to accept a donation in the amount of $2,500 to the Portales Fire Department for exercise equipment from the EDF Renewables.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. EDF Renewables, which is one of the wind turbine. Approached us about donating some money to purchase new exercise equipment, which will either allow us to update at Station 1 and move equipment to Station 2, or update it both. We'll form a committee and decide how it's spent once the donation is done. Any questions?
We have any questions? Okay, if we have no questions, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval.
I have a motion by Ms. Parker and a second by Mr. Merrick. Ms. Swopes?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
And Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We would like to thank EDF Renewables for their generous donation, so thank you for that. Next item is item 2, request for approval of FY 2026 Local System Improvement Project Grant. Asking the approval of the mayor or mayor pro tem and fire and EMS chief signatures on the grant application.
Again, Mayor Pro Tem and the council, so these grants come around every year. And last year we were extremely successful. And we're very grateful for the EMS Bureau for all the money that we received. They gave us funding to purchase 2 new cardiac monitors, which will allow us to equip all of our current units and the new ones with a cardiac monitor. The problem with that is our current monitors that we have are about 10 to 15 years old, and they need to be replaced. So that's the goal with this, is to try to find a way to fund the rest of those new cardiac monitors to ensure we have the new most up-to-date equipment on all of our ambulances. This grant does not require a match, but I have put in there that we'll dedicate $35,000 out of our EMS Fund Act towards that purchase, in hopes that that will make it look more appealing to the grant council.
Any questions?
Tell them that you have 35,000, would that devalue your grant application?
It will improve it.
It would improve it?
Yes, sir. But with the success that we've had, these grants typically rotate you down in a priority if you received funding the previous year. But that, well known, if there's not enough applications out there, there's still a chance for this funding, so we thought it prudent to go ahead and throw our hat in the ring and see if we can try to grasp some of that funding.
Any others?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Merrick and second by Mr. Robinson. Ms. Phelps?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item, Mr. Kathy, you're still up. Request for approval of FY 2026 vehicle purchase grant application for a new type 1 ambulance to replace aging high mileage units in our fleet of ambulances, asking for the approval of the mayor or mayor pro tem and fire EMS chief's signatures on the grant application.
It's the last one, I promise. So we were successful in getting this last year. We received 205,000 from this, but it does require 25% match. So this last year, we were successful in getting 200,000 from capital outlay that covered the FY 25. So that one is good to go. But the problem is adding 2 to our fleet gets us to our 6 that we've been trying to get to for many years now, with 5 in service, 1 in reserve. That still leaves our 4 units that we currently have that have an average mileage of over 100,000, and the newest is 9 years old. So getting this one would allow us to start rotating those higher mileage ones out and decrease maintenance costs. And I did speak with the finance director about the match. This grant award comes out at the end of April, so it allows time to budget for the FY 26 budget year. I'd answer your questions.
Mr. Robinson?
You mentioned funds coming out of the general budget.
Yes, sir.
How come you couldn't get it from the fire fund?
You cannot have a fire fund without the state fire marshal's approval on EMS stuff, and using fire fund on an ambulance increases its cost by about $50,000.
How many?
$40,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
Based on the requirements that they have in comparison to the EMS Bureau.
Okay.
And the DOT.
I was just wondering if you could get it from the fire fund cheaper for the city.
Yes, it would be, but fire fund already pays $100,000 a year out of our fire fund for Station 2 and our ladder truck.
Do we have the personnel to operate an additional ambulance? I know it's been a goal to get to 5, but will they just be sitting there?
Well, the problem is we can't determine the frequency of our calls. And there's usually anywhere from 1 to 5 times a month that all ambulances are out and there's calls waiting for an ambulance. So our ambulance fleet has always been lower since the mid-90s. Call volume has tripled since then, but we've never increased our ambulance fleet. And so getting to that fifth one that is also a 4-wheel drive is essential for the weather response into the county, where it may be a sandy road or a wreck off the road. That it would be very important for the service.
Right, but do we have the actual personnel? If all 4 are out and we add a 5th, do we actually have drivers to take that 5th ambulance, or we still have to wait for the driver?
No, overtime, yes. As I'm sure you're well aware, we rely heavily on people coming in on their days off to ensure our communities.
Good deal.
Thanks. That's your question, sir.
Anybody else?
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Ms. Parker. Swopes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Kathy. And I was excited to see that fleet is gonna have a 4x4 for, I know that it's pretty rough out in the county, so I'm glad that was on there. Okay, next item is from Ms. McLennan, Community Service Director. Item 1 is request for approval of resolution 2024-44, a variance for an off-premises billboard located at 1354 North Chicago Avenue. Approval of this resolution would appeal resolution PC 2024-2025-31, denied by the Planning Commission at their regular meeting on October 14th, 2024. Appeal filed in writing by Kurt Horan, managing member of Flumen Outdoor Media LLC, to the city clerk as allowed by law. Ms. McLennan.
The title kind of suggests this went to October's planning and zoning meeting where it was denied. Re-denied it, 2 approved it, so it's denial stuff. So if you deleted the application, file an appeal to bring it to you to see if you would reconsider. So this is gonna be a billboard around the area of the little new venue, right around that curve. It's gonna be a 42-foot and 5-inch high billboard with 2 10-foot by 25-foot signs facing on each side. They're gonna be stacked. And then, of course, our ordinance isn't quite billboard friendly, so any billboards have to come before you guys' variances. I believe a gentleman on Zoom might be for this one. They have requested our Zoom information so they can answer any questions you may have. P&Z did deny it because they believed it overshadows the town a little bit, and would not like to see a lot of billboards with the city limits. And then the part of the appeal that was turned in was that city council had approved a billboard by Tri-City that was similarly a little out in town, but still not quite in congested. If you want to go, now that we kind of, that's the property that the billboard on. The arrow shows you where the plan for the billboard is. There is a billboard. Under planning and design. We did send out certified letters. We really didn't get a lot of letters back. We received 1 letter from a public utility was what proposal. Of course, safety may concern that the had. I believe that is all. And we do have somebody who's unmuted. Perfect. So if you have any questions for me, fantastic. If not, we do have someone here for the application to answer your questions as well.
Okay, any questions for Ms. McLennan?
Yeah,
So-
could somebody, I'm sorry, could somebody please clarify what she said that the planning commission had against it? I can't hear her very well. The speakers are hard to hear.
So the planning and zoning felt that they just don't particularly like billboards in town. They feel they overshadow kind of the town. We just have billboards every so often. So that was just the general disappeal of having billboards everywhere was That seemed to be their biggest concern.
Is there any ordinance that says, mentions overshadowing for towers, or is it just?
It does not, just the ordinance that says you can't have a sign that advertises more than 300 feet away from what it's advertising, since billboards advertise quite a distance, that's just why they have to come before you.
So it would be fine if a little old, a little new, it was their billboard, but since this is to sell advertisements, we're
Yes.
not good with it?
They were using the billboard to advertise for their building, which is in 300 feet. They can have a sign as long as it meets the height restrictions, but if you wanna advertise for something that's more than 300 feet away from that sign, then it's before you.
Would this meet the height restrictions, the 42 feet, 5 inches? Or is it just because it's not a little old and a little new, we denied it?
Because it's the advertising for business.
So it doesn't have much to do with the overshadowing, it's just that it's not a little old and
Past council has been not very billboard friendly. I believe the council didn't want us to be a billboard every couple of feet in our photos.
Mr. Merrick?
We've got signs all through town, people advertising their businesses. I don't really see a difference between advertising their business or advertising someone else's business, but. I mean, one was approved, I think sometime last year, about this time. For it to go up in Tri-Cities parking lot, and that one's up. I really don't see that we've got a leg to stand on if we approved one there and we're denying one here. So. I mean, I would rather not see billboards all the way through town either, but each one of those is on opposite ends of town and leaving town, so. I'm not in opposition to it.
And I've got, I guess, another question. So this will be on a little old, little news property. They're okay with somebody else putting a sign on their property?
We'll talk about it more. In most cases, they'll lease out. And then they get a little bit of money for having that sign there, but it still remains a property of the sign company themselves. But he may go there.
Right.
Yes, thanks so much. I have a lease and I know I've sent in a blacked out lease that was approved and signed by the landowners.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Mayor, out of respect, I think that we should turn it down because that's why we have the planning commission to make decisions like that. If they're not going to make decisions, don't have them there.
Miss Kelly, do you know why they disapproved at the Planning and Zoning Commission?
That was just the main concern. It was pretty much the aesthetic and overshadowing the city. I believe the one that was at Tri-City was also denied at planning and zoning and then approved and it was appealed to the council.
Yeah, that's correct. And that was one that was the one that you mentioned on the outside of the other end of town. It was brought to our attention that you didn't want them kind of in your middle of town, kind of your, that area. So that's why we chose to put one on the other end of town that looked very similar in, scope as the one that was appealed and approved there at Tri-Cities.
Kind of clarify how close it's going to actually be to the roadway.
It will be about 15 feet off that power line that runs along. The state of New Mexico requires me to be at least 5 feet off their right of way. And then we went another 10 because that's a different ordinance where you have high power. We have to be so many feet behind power lines.
Is that why it's going so high?
Correct.
Is it going to be any higher than the other billboard on the other end of town?
It will almost be identical.
It'll have one pole holding it up.
Correct. And then, of course, we'll have to meet NMDOT's requirements as well. But without your guys' blessing, I can't or won't take it to NMDOT until, I don't want to waste their time either. But I was basically, it's the property rights, you've allowed one person to enjoy that property right. And that's kind of where I thought I'd hang my hat here was, allowing this property owner to enjoy those same rights. And was mentioned planning and zoning denied that, and it was appealed and approved by city council.
Okay, with that, what is the pleasure of the council?
I move for approval.
Second.
We have, hang on, I have a question. Mr. Lopez, and I don't have counsel here to help me with this one. Mr. Lopez, was that a motion prior? Mr. Lopez?
No,
It was just a
discussion.
suggestion? Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Self. Ms. Swopes, will you call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem,
No.
Mr. Robinson,
No.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
No,
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Okay, we have, motion carries. I would like to make a recommendation that we look at this ordinance again and just not continue to keep going forward with approving these out of the public works denial. Making sure that the resolution is clean and cut so that we don't have to, we can't just keep approving just because that's what we've done before. And if we have something to follow and a guideline, then we need to follow that.
And if you would like, I'd be more than happy to, kind of understanding the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish here. I'll be more than happy to supply you with samples. I mean, we have over 500 billboards in between Eastern New Mexico and West Texas. I mean, I have so many city ordinance, and I could kind of send you over ones to look at that I think would accomplish what you're trying to do.
Okay.
And then, it may, pick and choose what you like, and that may save you some legal dollars if you have to have someone write this up for you.
Yes, and then that will help you on your end as well. So we appreciate all the help.
Yeah,
You
no,
give us.
I've learned you guys are the boss. Without you saying yes, I got to go to the next one.
Well, we appreciate you joining the line. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, next section is the city manager action items. Item 1 is the request for approval of intergovernmental agreement between the New Mexico Economic Development Department and the city of Portales, the COP, allowing the COP to act as a fiscal agent for the state lead of funds for Enchanted Vineyards. Mr. Moyer.
Council, this is just the agreement between us and the New Mexico Economic Development for us to be basically, we're just the fiscal agent for funds that they're awarding to Enchanted Vineyards for a legal project. We have a number of so here to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions, or Mr. Lucetto, would you like to add anything?
No, thank you for your time. It's exactly what that is, to be the fiscal agent, using the lead ordinance you have, to be able to use state funds, to this, private entity, which is Enchantment Vineyards.
Any questions? This was before us before, and so we've kind of been aware of it and we've seen it before. If you were able to read through, what is the pleasure of the council?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Ms. Parker. Ms. Swopes?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Stout,
Abstain.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Reckler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Mr. Lucido, thank you for being here.
Right.
Item 2, request approval for ordinance 771, approving an economic develop project for Enchanted Vineyards.
So this is just the economic, this is the ordinance approving, project ordinance approving this project that's required by the state's beyond development.
Yeah, it's required by statute to pass an ordinance. For the project.
And this is just so we have clear cut of what's being dispersed, the schedule, and
The authorization.
the authorization, anything if something happens for clawbacks, anything like that. So it's just the statute based off of the ordinance. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move for
Make a-
approval?
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Parkton, a second by Mr. Lopez. Ms. Swopes, please, one more time.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Stout,
Abstain.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Reckler.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Okay.
carries. Okay, last item, item number 3, request of approval for the project participation, the PPA between the New Mexico Economic Development and the city of Portales.
This is the last piece of paperwork that's required for this. It's the project participation agreement that shows you your disbursement schedule and the amount of the impacts that it will, job creation, everything like that goes with it, also the clawback.
Any questions on this one? Seeing none, what is the pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Lopez. Ms. Swopes, last one.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Stout,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Reckler.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Our last item is council and staff comments. We'll start with staff. Do we have anything from staff? Ms. Lutzkin.
Election, the government obligations on issue number 2 for libraries passed with 53%. I don't have an exact amount, but I think we could expect to receive a little over 56,000 for our portion. And that becomes available.
Great. Thank you for that update. Mr. Moyer?
So I'll be out of town next week, the 20th to the 22nd at a budget conference up in Albuquerque. I am happy to say that we just got confirmation that the dumpster money is in our account now, so we'll be ordering that tomorrow. Was supposed to be last week, but dumpster money is in our account.
Say it louder.
Yeah, snow last week in Santa Fe and Albuquerque kind of halted the pressing of a button, I guess. And then questions on the council meeting for the 26th. If there was going to be a quorum, if everybody's going to be here and there's going to be a quorum.
I am available.
I'm gonna be out of town.
I'll be here.
Because it's Thanksgiving week, so we're just asking a question.
We'll have a quorum.
We'll have a quorum? Okay. Good enough.
Yes. if there's line items, you may want to get with the mayor to see if you want to look at just, normally we don't have a meeting that week, but
Right.
we'll all be here, so it should be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? Elkins,
Nothing.
Mr. Lopez.
Just a bunch of weeds.
Working on it.
They're going over the roof.
We are, and we did just put up a part-time code enforcement. So we have a second code enforcement officer to try to help, so it's just they're overwhelmed. And so we were doing interviews this past week. So fingers crossed we'll have another enforcement officer to help with the workload.
Nobody talked about our dogs. What happened to our building?
So we got the quote for the foundation today. So we're actually gonna try to purchase the building tomorrow.
Is that on the same place where we have outlet complaints?
It's gonna be, yeah, between the Senior Citizen Center and the softball complex.
I did forget I had one.
Okay,
Can
well,
I
I can
ask-
go back to you. Go ahead.
Well, it was on that. We had Miss Kibbe come last week, and she said that she had not received a certified letter. Neither did either of her neighbors. Can we confirm that if that's the truth and they didn't get those?
They don't need those. So when you're changing the use of the land, you have to send out for your special use permits. That's one big piece of land. So it's had an animal shelter on there for 3 years. So we're moving it on the same piece of property, so we're not changing the use of that land. If we went to any other land, then yes, it would have needed the special use permit.
Even though it's not change, or it's changing addresses, because it'd be on a completely different street.
It'll be the same piece of land. It's just moving the property on the same piece of property, or moving the building on the same piece of property.
Will the dog animal control center have its own address?
It is gonna have a new address, yes.
Okay.
And we cannot change that, I assume, since we're already that far down there.
It's a good chance to lose all the money for it.
I just want to make sure. Thanks.
Mr. Self,
Nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson,
Nothing.
Ms. Parker.
To clarify on that, I did call and contact Miss Kibbe, and we met and we went and showed her where we're currently located, where we're moving it to. Kelly did a great job of bringing the plans and explained to her, so we did talk with her. So even though she's not completely happy about it, she's content, and she says, okay, so I did meet with her and talk with her, and everything's taken care of, so. we're good.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We're good with Miss Kibbe and her neighbors and stuff.
Well, we might have to buy some masks so they won't bark so much.
Well, and and we discussed this because it's out of town. And so when you get out of town, you have the barking of the dogs, the smells and different things, of everything. And with our community being in the rural area, I mean, I don't want to say we're used to it, but I mean, it's just part of it. So we discussed it in great length and met with her and everything. So everything's good. So, with the rain that we did receive, which we loved, and we were very, very welcome to have it, comes the potholes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there's so many potholes. There's so much. Do we have a schedule? I noticed that I saw that
They were out today.
the state highway department, is that right? Or was it our?
It was probably our guys. I know
Okay.
that I'll have to talk with Steve to see what his schedule is this week, but I'm sure that
Okay.
he's going around to all the streets.
Right.
I did send over an intergovernmental agreement to the county manager today to get basically an agreement together to be able to start using their equipment also, so we can repair roads better.
Okay.
So that is in works.
Okay. very
right now.
good. Appreciate that very much. Thank you. And then anything on street signs? Still?
So we're still waiting on the 64 that we ordered, and then we just got the quote back in today for the sign machine. And so we're just waiting for their cooperative number so that we can go ahead and purchase it. And then once we get that in, we'll be able to make our own signs. And it'll improve, it'll make it easier for us to change out and swap.
Good. I appreciate that very much. And the weeds was another one, but you touched on that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Oh, one more thing really fast. I'm sorry, but coming down First Street. I was looking the other night, lots of lights, we
Mhm.
have lots of lights, and all of a sudden it gets dark. So I counted, I think there was 18 lights that are out, whether it's the street lights or it's our street lamps. And it's by the, like once you leave the square, like around the chamber and then you go down, lots of lights out. And we've discussed this before. I've brought it up before. So if we could check on that.
I have to see if those are ours or the states.
Well, and I'm not sure. I'm not.
Those are the cities.
They are the cities?
Highway.
Co-ops helped replace those before.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's something
Then-
that
okay, got it.
we need light. So if we could look at that, please.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. And that is all. Thank you, sir. Mr. Merritt.
I've just got a couple because you guys are ahead of me and got on some of the stuff I was gonna ask. We redid a section of Kilgore. And I'm thinking that in past council meetings, it was mentioned that there was supposed to be funding coming for the next portion going back towards 70. Or do we know anything about that or?
So
I'm gonna have to defer.
we don't have any that's going back towards 70 for the road. Which section of the road are you speaking
Yeah,
to?
from Third Street on to 70 there, the rest of Kilgore.
Okay, so there was a grant for that in the past, and that was utilized. I can find that paperwork on that, and then if you get back with me, then I can give you more detail on that. But yes, there was a grant on that, and it was utilized and it was executed. And it has been since closed.
Did we change the scope of work for that grant?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. We changed the scope of work.
Change the scope, that's by the south side of, other side of Third. It was fixed, because we changed the scope to that.
It went to cemetery.
From the front of the cemetery. Mr. Katz.
If I remember correctly, the grant was placed for the whole road, like you're talking about. The funding came in, but it was only enough to do one portion, one side or the other, and council chose to do Third Street, 8th Street. If I remember correctly.
That's good. Well, I remember they went out and started making repairs from the cemented portion of the intersection. And then we had a huge rain or something and kind of messed everything up. And they had to kind of come back and patch on it. And now we've got kind of got a mess there. And the other question was on Chicago between Second and Third Street. That little stretch of road right there coming off of Third Street going to Chicago back towards El Rancho. That has got to be the roughest little section of road.
Mhm.
And I know at one point we had one of those grinding machines that went on a front end loader. Even if we could just go in there and just take the tops off those humps that we've got there and then kind of seal that thing back, surely we could come up with something to do.
And like I said, with the 1.65 million that we got, we have four roads identified, but we're trying to do more than just 4 roads. There's a bunch of different ways we can repair different roads depending on how bad they are. And so I think that we'll be able to get, I'm hoping we get close to 10. Don't quote me on that. My fingers are crossed, but I'm hoping that we get a lot more roads and we're working on things too. We have some things in work, and hopefully the intergovernmental agreement, if we get that approved through the county and us, then hopefully that can help us with repairing better.
The county roads that they've done that slurry sealing on have really held up very well, so.
Mhm.
If we can just get a good surface to put it on.
Correct.
That'd be a good way of doing it.
Yes, sir.
All I have.
Okay. The only thing that I have, can you tell me when Steve's last day is?
It's done.
Oh, it is done.
It
Okay.
is.
So have we had any applicants for the?
We have.
Okay,
And
good.
I did forget that. Thank you for reminding me.
You're
I wanted to see if, need 2 volunteers from council for the interview panel for city attorney.
I'll volunteer, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
Elkins.
I'll
and Mary.
we have 2 applicants right now, so we'll start working that.
Okay, perfect. You'll set that meeting up. Perfect. Okay. So with that, the only other thing is the dangerous properties were still in the courts and we never received those back. So are we kind of at a standstill with those until we have an attorney in place?
Yes, I need the court orders to be able to go on the property and clean. So as soon as we get some approved court orders, we're ready to go.
So we do have a general counsel through the New Mexico Municipal League right now, so I just have to get in contact with them. And we can probably still do it. We can probably still do a bunch of stuff.
All of those properties already went to court, correct? We're just
No,
waiting
they've
on,
not gone to court.
they have not gone to court. Okay.
Either court hearing set up, but when the court order goes through, that's when the court set the hearings. For us to go argue and the property owners to come and discuss it on there as well. So that last step, once it left city council, it's been in limbo since then.
Okay, well, I appreciate getting on that whenever we have that council, because I know it's been like 2 years on some of these properties. So, and I know we have the funding for it that we need to expend, so. And that is all I have, so, oh, Mr. Rackler, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. I just had one thing, Chris, that if you could pass along the folks that work at the medical rehab there by Tie City have asked that we please do something about that alley between those 2 businesses. It is a huge lake all the time, and it's not even just when it rains. I mean, it's really large, and it's kind of hard for them to just even get around to the trash cans and everything else. So if we could look into that alleyway between the medical, where the rehabilitation and the Tie City is, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rackler. I hope you're feeling well. Did you want to add something while we're done? Okay. Okay, with that, meeting is adjourned.
Tell me.